Hello and welcome back to another Walking Dead video, and today I'll be talking about all 5 series finales in the Walking Dead universe and ranking them from the worst to the best. But before we get into this, as always, this is just my personal opinion, so if you disagree, I'll let you know what your rankings are down below. But with that out of the way, let's jump right into this with number 5, Tales of the Walking Dead Season 1 Episode 6, and this is the Supernatural Ghost episode. And the reason why it is in last is because this was not meant to be a series finale. It was a season finale, but Season 2 was cancelled and nothing ever happened. That was it. 6 episodes and the show was just forgotten about. And that led to this episode being the de facto series finale, and what a bad episode to end it on. This is one of the badder episodes of Tales' 6 episode run. And just, I can't get over the supernatural thing. Why add ghosts into this franchise 12 years into its run? It's really dumb. It's really boring. The episode has some kind of mediocre to bad acting at times. And there's like a whole baby Jesus scene. It is just really, really dumb. And it deserves to be in last place. But number 4 is World Beyond Season 2 Episode 10. And my biggest issue with this episode is it does not feel like a series finale. It feels like a season finale. It's a step up from what we got with Tales. However, this episode just felt like it was setting up for a season 3. We know this is meant to be the final episode. And I generally think this is because this episode was set up for movies that never happened and they changed directions to make The Ones Who Live. So it's very disconnected to that story, and this episode kind of leads nowhere. It just leaves you wanting more. World Beyond was really bad, but got really good in the last 4 to 5 episodes. And then you got this episode, which ended on this big cliffhanger. You're like, all these characters are going off to do these things. And you're like, I want to know why and how and everything. Like, it left me with too many questions. It was not a satisfying conclusion to this 2-season storyline we had. It was just, it felt like the start of a new story arc that we never got to see. So, World Beyond, number 4. Now, number 3 is Fear's finale. Fear, Season 8, Episode 12. And this episode, I personally think it's okay. It's a good episode, a good finale. I think it's a better finale in some aspects than other episodes. But the whole episode as a whole, it is very slow, it is very lackluster. This is the final episode and everything happens off screen. It is very much talking, and everything is like happening while we can't see it. I don't like the slow-mo aspects. This episode is really just saved by the ending and by how finite it feels and how everyone got a nice happy ending. I really like that aspect of this episode. It's just everything leading up to those final kind of 12 minutes or 10 minutes is really boring, really dull, and it really does bring this episode down. However, it is one of the better episodes of Season 8. And you could still find a way to enjoy it. I really, really like the ending, as I've said multiple times now. But outside of them giving these characters a nice send-off, it is an episode that I rather forget about. It is just very boring, and they could have done so much more with the final episode of Fear, because they had no budget. They were obviously not using the budget. You think they're going to have a big final, big episode, because they're saving the budget for this episode, and they weren't. So where the hell did that money go? But now number 2 is The Ones Who Live, Season 1, Episode 6, and this was almost number 3 for me, solely because this episode is terribly rushed. This episode had to have Rick kind of wrap up the entire Commonwealth arc. Major General Bill was a disappointment. This episode was a disappointment all the way up to the ending. The ending is what saved this episode. It's the perfect ending for Rick and Michonne. It's a nice reunion, a great goodbye to the characters, but outside of that ending, this is one of the worst kind of pacing-wise finales we've had. Outside of the pacing, the acting's phenomenal. It looks amazing. The action, when there is action, is great. It just has that one issue, and that is the pacing. And that is my biggest issue. And that's the only bad thing I can say about this episode. I really did enjoy this episode. So even though it was almost number 3, I feel confident and happy placing number 2. And I do think it deserves it because it gave us the nice ending and let us finally say goodbye to Rick Grimes. Because without this show, we would have this terrible ending in Season 9 for Rick. So I'm really, really happy we got this. It's just all those years of build-up and hype has made it a bit lackluster. But looking past that, I still really enjoyed this episode. Now, number 1 is The Walking Dead Season 11, Episode 24. And there was no, contest with every other ending compared to this. This ending was great. It was action-packed. It was emotional. I was surprised with the emotional death that we had in this episode. There was quite a few deaths. This episode was everything that we needed for the goodbye, for the Walking Dead. I thought this episode was going to be more of a shell out, with them being like, you know, spin off. I like how they kept it a bit subtle right until the very end with Daryl and Rick, but I like how they didn't do the thing with Maggie and Dead Sea, which was great. This episode was really enjoyable from start to finish. It was also slightly extended, which made it work. It gave itself the time to tell Pamela's and the Commonwealth story done. I think the Variant Walker arc was completely squandered and ruined in this episode. They needed a whole other episode for the Variants by themselves, but outside of that Variant subplot, the whole Commonwealth story worked well, and it came to a nice, satisfying conclusion. And I really like the time jump at the end with all our characters and seeing how everyone lived a happy life. It was a great way to end The Walking Dead, and it is by far the best finale we've had in this universe. It doesn't really have any of the flaws that any of the other finales have. This episode was allowed to cook, and it cooked good. And this is one of the best finales I've seen personally of a TV show in a very, very long time. There might be some better ones out there, but out of the most recent finales I've watched, Walking Dead's finale was up there and one of my favourites. So this is it for me today, so thank you for watching, goodbye, and I'll talk to you later.